Thanks, my name's Collier Issacs. I've been looking after FarmIQ for the last 7 years. FarmIQ is a bigger program of which the genetics is part, with Landcorp and Saltfern Farms as partners, and MPI. The vision for FarmIQ in the overall program sense was this demand-driven integrated value chain, which can create some better meat that delivers benefits for everybody in the value chain. The project itself has got quite a few parts. The first of those, Saltfern Farms, product development, market development, a whole lot of consumer research around the globe really. The next one was back into processing and saying if we know what consumers are after, can we trace animals, can we measure what's important, etc. After that, there was the program that we're actually going to talk about after me, which is the sheep genetics work. So if you know what consumers are after, you can trace and measure in a processing environment, can you select for it on farm? Beyond that was on farm and saying, well, put all those together, can you improve on-farm productivity and still get the benefits you're looking for a consumer, and join the whole lot together with the farm management system. And that probably covers those points well enough. When we started off on this work, we thought lamb would be really easy. Having said that, we had this problem with beef. There's a whole chunk of it that actually didn't eat so well. And so we did a lot of work internationally, 97,000 odd samples, 14,000 odd consumers in 4 countries to try and work out that relationship between some quality measures and actually eating outcome for a consumer. And that's what got called Beef EQ. So now we can reliably find the source of that tough steak. Once we knew how we could actually find the cuts that were going to be terrible, we then had to trace them through a processing plant. You then had to take the measurements that were required. It was about 9 of them actually in the chiller to work out what that relationship was for individual animals. Then you had to record all that information, and then you had to fire it back to the farm eventually through the farm management software I was talking about. So actually, if you're a farmer looking at the different scores for those different eating quality traits and whether you passed or failed, could you do something about it on your farm? Now, whether it be what breed am I actually running on my farm? Where am I buying these animals from? You can work out, where the pass or fails are on any of those things. And further down here, there's stock class and year born and growth rate and what they've last eaten. So you can actually trace some of these eating quality performance measures on the farm all the way back to a paddock. But also, when you start pulling out big data, there's tens of thousands of carcasses in the system. We can quite clearly see that in terms of growth rate, the bit that matters actually is growth rate in the last 60 days. And so if you're doing somewhere between 1.5 and 2 kg, there's a better chance, you're going to be getting pass rates of north of 35% as opposed to somewhere here in the 20s. So you can pull together that information right from the consumer effectively back to farm. Where we'll head next is artificial intelligence effectively. You'll throw all that data into a big computer brain and it'll actually come out and help farmers make some decisions on what they do on farm in relation to eating quality without them having to spend a fair bit of time, perhaps interpreting graphs. So that's just the next step. And can you make a difference? Yeah, a lot of farmers made a big difference in terms of eating outcomes. And so, as I say, you can trace it at the farm, you can trace it back to the paddock, and the most important bit, you can trace it back to your pocket, which is the 25 cents a kg for if you pass the eating quality test. It's been around a few years, so I don't think any of this is news to you guys. And I think at the moment it's actually a 40-cent premium because there's it's off-season in terms of kill. But the whole damn objective was consumers are guaranteed a great steak. Because the last thing we want to do when you're competing with a whole lot of other products out there is to not have a great eating outcome. Right, lamb. As I said, we thought lamb would be straightforward. Actually, when you got out there talking to consumers, lamb, because the similar age group, etc., actually there weren't really that many eating quality issues in lamb. So off we set and did the same sort of things we did for beef in terms of whole different range of cuts, different packaging, avoided the wrecked and cooking territory, so there's cooking information on the back so consumers know how to handle it. The cuts are the right size for the people that want to pay for them, etc. No whole lamb legs. And I think the bit that we keep talking about, and a lot of my friends don't seem to understand the value of resting time. So once you've cooked your steak or cooked your lamb, let it rest for 10 minutes. It actually makes it a whole lot better eating. But it's just interesting that I guess people learn from experience, but in this day and age, most people haven't learned a whole lot of cooking by experience. Also, same as beef, you can get all the information on the web. Given we didn't actually believe consumers when they said that there was actually a great eating experience, we thought, well, given our experience in beef, let's try the same theory in sheep. So we grabbed 4,000 odd lambs from 27 breeds and rams and cryptorchids and what have you, wethers, a whole range of different grades, and actually threw in a whole lot of information from on farm as well, growth rates, forages and things, and said, right, across all that, if we run a whole lot of 23,000 samples and 3,000 odd consumers, can we find something? what did they say? Still great. So that actually was, to be fair, that's a great outcome. So the eating quality of New Zealand lamb, by and large, is actually is damn good. However, the reason that popped up in some respects is there's a whole lot of stuff actually happened post the farm when it came to the processing. So we're using best cuts, so you weren't trying to put 4/4 in there. All the meat was actually aged for at least 20 days before it was frozen or before it was used as part of the taste paneling. And so that actually irons out quite a few of the things that could potentially happen on farm. Back to the point about training people to cook, matching the cut to the cooking method. The New Zealand industry has done a whole lot of work on pH over the years, and so electrical stimulation is pretty well sorted these days, and so if you electrically stimulate, you can manage pH. And whatever happens, back to the earlier slides, you need a compelling story as to why a consumer would want to pay more. So basically, what doesn't matter? Pretty much, if you do those processing things really right, actually everything else is pretty good. However, there is always a bit of a but in these things, and this is the but. And this is John's slide, not mine. But the but is if you're really putting a whole lot of selection pressure on here for terminal sire index, and this is eating quality here, your eating quality goes south, the higher index rams are for terminal sires. And this is not peculiar to New Zealand, you get exactly the same effect in Australia. So over time, by making selecting for growth rate and yield, we're actually slowly but surely reducing the eating quality of New Zealand lamb. So that's the but. Yep.
Negative breeding correlation.
Yeah, effectively, yeah. But the great thing about this is not actually all terminal, and the fact that you can, if you look at this graph and say here's the rate of gain for eating quality and for terminal sire traits, and this is the percentage of gain you can possibly get. If you went for 100% gain for your terminal sire indexes, you're going to be going backwards at 40% for eating quality. So that's the real negative of it. So that's those extreme rams in that other diagram. But you can still do 90% odd gain for your terminal sire index and still be going north for eating quality. So if you're actually getting in and measuring this stuff, it's not like it's a total lose-lose. You can actually manage the eating quality over time without really getting seriously in the way of your terminal sire index.
But within those top rams for growth rate, you've got your bell curve, some of them will be high eating quality,
yeah.
so you can't generalise.
Well, you can.
So what's going on? Why is the eating quality deteriorating? Is it fat? Is it marbling?
There's probably a few different reasons, but primarily it's around they get really lean, and for some reason the muscle fibers different wants to get bigger, and so it just gets tougher. But you're right. What you were saying here, there are rams in here that are going to eat really well.
They're the ones you want.
And so, if you're a ram breeder, you want to use what he's going to talk about next to find those. That's probably the quickest way of saying it, because we now have a test in the snip chip that actually can find these animals over here. Because what you don't want is these suckers down here. So you're right, that's roughly your bell curve, you're dead right. So the trick is having tools to find the animals you want to keep. And I guess my message is that you can still make decent gain in terminal sire index without actually getting in the way of eating quality. So, in short, we can actually still guarantee a great eating lamb in the longer run, as opposed to what we know about it right now. The last point I was going to make is just that, can you make a premium out of these lambs? Well, you certainly can. So if that's the commodity price of lamb running along here for the same sort of cuts, and that's them in those retail packs, they're worth 2.75 more than they are as a commodity leg. And so you can certainly add some value. And fair, there's a bit of cost involved. So it's not all that 2.75 coming back, but actually the whole idea was to add value, not cost, and doing these sort of things actually has seriously added value.